Hello everyone, I'd like to welcome you all to Operation Bobcat Lightning. At time effective 29/0600 August 2024, 1st Squad, 1st Platoon, Charging Company, 1-15 Infantry is tasked with attacking to destroy Objective Phantom with the purpose of denying enemy influence on the battalion's decisive operation. As we move into our subordinate units, Alpha Team, 1st Squad is going to be supporting Effort 1 with a task of isolating with the purpose of denying enemy support through the objective. Their key weapon system is going to be one M249 and one M203. They're going to be the main security element throughout the operation. Bravo Team, 1st Squad is going to be our main effort. They're going to be tasked with attacking to destroy the Objective Phantom with the purpose of denying enemy influence on the battalion's decisive operations. They will have the same key weapon systems as Alpha Team. They will be the main assault effort throughout the operation. Attached with us, we have Weapons Team from 4th Squad. We're happy to have you all. Your all's task is going to be support by fire with the purpose of enabling Bravo Team's movement throughout the objective. Your all's key weapon system is going to be one M240 Bravo, and you're going to be the main support effort throughout the operation. Next, we're going to be orienting you all to the AO. There are several key things I'd like to point out. To the north, we're going to have Route Cameroon rounding off the top of the AO. To the east, we're going to have the coastal mountains. These are high, steep, and you will see them. To the west, we're going to have the Benign River. It is very wide and very wet, so do not go through it. To the south, we're going to have the Benign River and the coastal mountains pinching it off. If you see both of these at the same time, you have gone too far. One main thing I'd like to point out is Route Cameroon. This is the high-speed avenue of approach throughout the AO. This is what the enemy is using to move throughout the AO effectively. Throughout the AO, we do have phase lines Alaska and phase line Arctic, which we will be passing as we perform an infiltration to Objective Phantom. Objective Phantom is to the south. This is our key terrain too, as marked later on. This does possess one enemy mortar team. As we look at our AOI, there are several things to take into consideration. The enemy does have one battery of P1-66s or 152mm howitzers that do range the entire AO. We do have to take this in consideration because their trigger is U.S. forces greater than a squad size element, and they have a trigger time of 10 minutes, so it is important that we are not detected throughout the AO and that we move swiftly on our objective. Additionally, the enemy does have one PP-87 at Objective Phantom. Intel has suggested they have routine firing patterns in the morning and afternoon. It is important that we do destroy this objective in order to disrupt the enemy's ability to fire on U.S. forces throughout the AO. To the west of our AO, there is one enemy infantry motorized platoon with a reaction time of 40 minutes, and their trigger is seeing U.S. forces move along main supply routes throughout the AO. Now, orienting you all to our GTAO, there are several things to take into account, mainly our obstacles. There is a lot of severely restricted terrain and restricted terrain to the east of our AO. Once again, along those coastal mountains, we're going to see a lot of severely restricted terrain with restricted terrain on the outskirts. To the north, we have our severely restricted terrain, and our patrol base is nested within that. This does provide us a good bit of cover due to the dense vegetation and high elevation. Additionally, there is many rivers and streams throughout the AO. However, these are not an issue. Just bring an extra pair of socks and you'll be all right. As we move through, there are some wired obstacles along Route Cameroon, hoping to limit enemy movement along the high-speed avenues of approach. These shouldn't be any issues to us. As we look at our avenues of approaches, Avenue of Approach 1 will be our primary avenue of approach. It does move through restricted and severely restricted terrain, but it allows us to perform a successful infiltration with minimal detection. Our second avenue of approach will be Avenue of Approach 2. This does move through severely restricted and restricted terrain as well. However, there are more linear danger area crossings, which we are more likely to be detected through. When we look at the enemy's avenues of approach, they are primarily coming from the south. We see them supplying Objective Phantom from the south, hoping to reinforce. And then additionally, to the west of Objective Phantom, there is a squad tasked to control a village. We do not think this will be an issue, as they are not likely to move upon the objective. However, it is still possible that the mortar team on Objective Phantom can move to that village if they are exfilling from key terrain 2. Key terrain throughout the objective will be Key Terrain 2. This is Objective Phantom. This will be the focal point of conflict throughout the operation. We have key terrain 1 to the west of Objective Phantom. This is the village that a squad is tasked to control. Key terrain 3 will be this focal point that forces are moving through. U.S. forces will need to move through this focal point to move further into the AO. Additionally, North Torbian forces will be moving north through that focal point throughout the AO if they wish to push U.S. forces back. Throughout the AO, fields of fire will be limited. It will be restricted to about 400 meters due to the high elevation and dense vegetation. Direct fire weapon systems do not have a long range throughout the AO, which is beneficial to us as we are moving through with minimal detection. However, IDF assets will be able to hit you anywhere in the AO. It is vital that you remain in dense cover and vegetation throughout the AO in order to not be detected. There is minimal cover throughout the AO. The best option is the dense vegetation and severely restricted terrain as you move throughout. Some other things to point out is our weather throughout the operation. There will be a decreasing illumination throughout the next week, which will be negligible to both us and the enemy as we both have NVG assets and thermal optics. Additionally, one thing that is advantageous to us is the precipitation. We are expecting 65% precipitation throughout the next week. This will aid us through minimal detection on our patrols, and this will provide limited visibility for the enemy. In addition to that, temperature and humidity will be high. It is vital that we have full water supplies whenever we step off to minimize heat casualties. We are hoping to catch the enemy in a sluggish position due to this high temperature and high humidity as well. Now, as we look at what our company is fighting, we have a larger area that we are looking at, but this should not be an issue of us. I just want to help orient you all to what our company is doing. Our main effort, and where we'll be focusing our conflict, is this infantry motorized platoon occupying AO Rowan. You can see Objective Phantom with the mortar team to the south. This will be our main objective and what we are attacking to destroy as first squad. There are other assets to the west and to the east and to the west. To the west over there, you can see that infantry motorized platoon that will have that trigger time of 40 minutes. One main thing I would like to point out is this recon squad, tasked with screening with the purpose of early detection of U.S. forces who will be maneuvering through that. The most common weapon system that the company will be facing is the QBZ-95, comparable to the M4 or a standard assault rifle. We will see this throughout the AO a lot. The most dangerous weapon system will be the 1 PP-87, comparable to an 81mm howitzer. This is causing us issues at this point, but hopefully it will not be a problem after we successfully complete our mission. Now, moving over to what our platoon is fighting, we're going to zoom in on what that platoon is occupying a little bit more. You can see we have first squad controlling a village, and they are tasked with disrupting U.S. forces and denying freedom of maneuver. We have the second squad of the enemy occupying a village, and the HQ element is also attached to that squad. They are just sitting and occupying that village. And then we have third squad in the village to the west of Objective Phantom, tasked with controlling that village with the purpose of controlling the infrastructure within that area. Additionally, Objective Phantom, we have the enemy mortar team tasked with disrupting U.S. forces in order to deny freedom of maneuver within the AO. Lastly, we have this enemy recon squad, once again, tasked with screening the area with the purpose of early detection of U.S. forces. Key weapon systems that our platoon is facing, the most common one will be the QBZ-95, once again comparable to the M4. Additionally, the most dangerous weapon system within this area will be the 1 PP-87, comparable to the 81mm howitzer. It does have a large array and dangerous effects on U.S. forces. Now, looking at a micro version of what we are facing, we see that we are facing one enemy mortar team once again to the south, Objective Phantom. However, I would like to orient you to this enemy recon squad once again. We believe that they will set up 3 observation posts. The first observation post will be on top of the coastal mountains looking down at U.S. forces. The second observation post will be along this main intersection, and they are looking for detection of U.S. forces. And the third observation post will be along this freshwater supply route. We are hoping to maneuver with a successful infiltration with minimal detection past observation posts 1 and 2, and then attacking east to west on Objective Phantom. Additionally, Objective Phantom is to the south, and to the west of Objective Phantom, we do have that third enemy squad tasked with controlling the village. Our As we move through this, looking at a more micro version, we once again can see that enemy mortar team tasked with disrupting U.S. forces in order to deny freedom of maneuver. One key thing to point out is the minimum range of this enemy mortar is 120 meters. So once we are inside that, they will be able to no longer hit us with that mortar, and they will revert back to their standard assault rifles. Another thing to point out is, with that squad tasked with controlling the village, they will not be able to hit us with direct fire due to an inner visibility line on top of this hilltop. However, there are 3 entry routes into that village: 1 road to the south, 1 road to the north, and 1 road to the west. They do have weapon systems set up along those routes to block U.S. forces from entering the village. Our HVTLs throughout the mission is we are looking at radios. We want to target the radios in order to disrupt the fire network throughout the enemy system. We also want to target their mortar team leader, once again, to disrupt the fire network throughout the system. Our HPTLs are going to be the radios. We want to reduce the enemy's ability to strike effectively, and also the 1 PP-87 in order to disrupt the fire networks they have established in AO Rowan. Now, as we move to what our enemy knows about us, they have minimal intel on our composition and disposition. This will serve as an advantage for U.S. forces, as we are hopeful to surprise them with our firepower in the make of our platoon. As they maneuver through, the enemy right now is in a minimal transition period after the air assault operation. This will serve as a strength to us because they are stuck into fixed positions, trying to reorient themselves from the air assault operations. They do have IDF assets able to reach us throughout the AO. This is a strength to them that we will have to take into consideration. We will have to move with minimal detection throughout the AO. Now, for protections, there are not many protections set up throughout the AO. We do not see a lot of reinforcing obstacles, but they are dug into these fixed defensive positions, which we will have to destroy in order to have an effect on the enemy. The enemy does have viable sustainment. There are a lot of main supply routes supplying the front line, so it is likely that they can sit in these fixed defensive positions and will not move from them. And then it is likely that the enemy network has a strong radio network set up as they are able to communicate. We will probably see if one enemy is hit with a strike from U.S. forces, the adjacent units will be alerted as well and expecting that. Now, the enemy's most likely course of action throughout this movement is they're going to facilitate disruption of offensive efforts. So that is what this mortar system is targeting. To the north, we have our avenues of approach coming in. They are trying to disrupt this, and they will be set up an area defense. Decisive to their operation is early detection of U.S. patrols. This is why the recon squad is to the northeast, trying to spot and detect U.S. forces. However, once we perform our infiltration successfully, we will overcome their decisive operation. Now, their key terrain, their end state is they want to be able to control key terrain 2 and objective Phantom. However, if they do detect U.S. forces, it is likely they will move backwards from objective Phantom into battle position Alpha and then move back into the village that is controlled by 3rd Squad. It is likely we will not be able to target and attack and destroy them at this point. Now, as we move into our overarching concept, we do see that the company has an intent, that Charger Company 1-15 Infantry, the battalion supporting Effort 2, will disrupt enemy forces in AO Rowan no later than 2200 hours, August 2024, in order to deny enemy influence on the battalion's decisive operations. One key task I would like to point out is we are going to deny enemy uncontested use of the high-speed avenue approach, Route Cameroon. You can see we do have adjacent units from our platoon attacking objectives along a Route Cameroon in order to help facilitate this key task. Now, as we move into our platoon's mission and our execution, our end state, we are going to be using Access Ultra to perform a successful infiltration past the enemy recon squad stationed along this point, moving through observation posts 1 and 2, and then attacking to destroy Objective Phantom. We want to completely obliterate Objective Phantom and get rid of that enemy mortar team. That way we can retain the key task of denying enemy uncontested use of high-speed avenues of approach. Our end state is that we will have, the platoon will reconsolidate upon the patrol base once we are finished, and the enemy will be disrupted without accurate knowledge of the platoon's composition, and the primary main supply routes in AO Rowan are contested. This concludes my paragraph 1 brief. We'll be now moving into paragraph 2 mission.